We'd also like to take this time to thank our sponsors for lunch. Siddhartha, we'd like you to stand up, and Young from Kukdong, please stand up. We'd like to recognize you and thank you for lunch. We would also like to take this time to thank all of our sponsors and also congratulate the Masters of Supply Chain and Global Supply Chain Management School class of 2014. Thank you for all the board members, and thank you to all of our volunteers and planning committee. Up next, I'd like Dr. Raj Gopalan to come up and present the next award.
Hello, good afternoon. I hope you're all enjoying your lunch. So what we're going to do now is, you recall earlier in the morning, one of the awards that Nick presented was an award for lean to Raytheon. Similarly, another area that we feel is very important in any supply chain, and in an earlier talk, Das actually referred to this. He said supply chain is not just about efficiency and effectiveness, it's also about customer service. It's about making sure the customer get what they want. So consistent with that notion, what we want to do is we want to present an award to a company that's sort of at the forefront in raising the bar on process performance and how it's achieved a high level of service. Okay? This includes sort of both internal measures of service as well as external measures of service. So your customer is not just outside, your customer may be even inside the company, right? And when companies do both the internal measurement and the external measurement and achieve high levels of service, they tend to do much better overall in terms of meeting consumer needs, okay? So this award is going to go to a company which is one of probably, I think, only about 7 companies that's been around on the New York Stock Exchange for the last 120 years, okay? Now, I don't have any McDonald's coupons to distribute to you, okay? But can anybody guess which company that is? One of 7 companies. Well, that company happens to be, I think almost all of us are familiar with this company, is Johnson & Johnson, okay? And to accept the award on behalf of Johnson & Johnson, we have Christy Urkudi from Neutrogena, which is one of the major divisions of Johnson & Johnson here.
Thank you very much on behalf of Johnson & Johnson and also specifically to our Johnson & Johnson consumer team in India, because they're the team that actually won this award. So I was asked to say a few brief words about customer service in Johnson & Johnson, and I do promise to keep it brief. But really, all of our customer service comes out of the foundation of our credo, and that's deeply embedded within our culture. And when you read our credo and you start with the very first paragraph, it's all about taking care of our customers, mothers, fathers, doctors, patients, and everything else follows after that. And that's a guiding document that we all use within Johnson & Johnson all around the globe every day to guide our decision making. And so what the India team did is they used that as this is who we are, this is what we're responsible for, but it doesn't give them any guidance around how they're going to execute in excellence in order to provide that level of customer service. So the beauty of Johnson & Johnson and the way that the global teams are working now is we understand that we have to have a lot of processes that are harmonized. However, as we're looking into these different markets and their economies, we have to be able to respond to the specificities for those specific areas. And so the India team has this challenge, and from a customer service perspective, they're looking at retail in stock on shelf, and you look at that market, and there's 15 million outlets, at least, in India. And there isn't an easy way, there isn't transparency to be able to see that inventory. And so they needed to be able to develop processes and use low-cost technology solutions to develop that information availability and that transparencies so that they could implement a vendor-managed replenishment program. And so that's what they did. They used tablets, they used lower technologies that could interface with the business systems and get the products to the customer and make sure that they had them on shelf by having the right information in the right people's in the right people's hands, and so that they could make the right decision. And really, that has driven tremendous customer service improvements for us within India, and we're very, very proud of that team. So, on behalf of them, thank you very much.
Thank you. That was wonderful. Up next, we have Melissa Lora. She is a world-class leader. She's on our corporate advisory board here at USC. She's going to enlighten us on the challenges of expanding internationally with highly regulated food industry. She's an animal lover, and her official title is President of Taco Bell International, Global Chief Financial and Development Officer, Taco Bell Corporation. Take it away, Melissa Lora.
Thank you, Stephanie, and I'm really excited to be here today. My team and I are thrilled to be here learning and sharing insights with all of you. In fact, this morning it was interesting. I was looking at the sponsors that Nick had up here, and there was a sponsor that was called Supply Chain Brain. And so I would like to introduce my supply chain brain, my team who's back in the audience, stand up, the guys that are actually guiding us, hopefully they're there every day. They keep us out of a lot of trouble and make sure we maximize our sales, so thank you. And then I want to do a pitch. I'm clickerless, so oh, there we go. I want to do a pitch for Nick and Raj for the master's program. So we also have in the audience a group of students who are working together with my team and with their leaders to help us sort through what our global supply chain strategy should be. And it's really exciting to have this as a resource, and I'm thrilled to have the team, or many members of the team here today. They're coming down next week to present. We can't wait to see it. So if any of you are thinking about different unique ways to get a fresh set of eyes to look at what you're doing and help you, I'd encourage you to check in with Nick. So there's your commercial. So anyway, today I wanted to share a few thoughts on supply chain in the food service business. And I think Dr. Das and Bob did a really great job of setting up some context for the world we play in. And I would love to just give you a little bit more context about us as a business before I jump into a few more details around supply chain. So, see if this works. There we go. So Taco Bell is part of a company named Yum Brands, and Yum Brands includes KFC, Taco Bell, Pizza Hut are the biggest brands, and then a couple small brands in China. Together we have about a little more than 40,000 restaurants worldwide. We're in 123 countries, and we're proud to be the largest restaurant company in the world, putting smiles on people's faces through serving wonderful food and tasty products. When Taco Bell started, I heard someone say 120 years. No, not 120 years. You know, I like to say we're 52 years young because Taco Bell and I were born in the same year. So we grew up together, and I guess women shouldn't do that, but hey, what the heck. So for those of you that grew up in Southern California, this little iconic Mission store is what you grew up on, what you hopefully fondly remember, and is a huge part of our heritage. We were founded by a guy named Glenn Bell. You know, some people don't know that, but there was actually a guy named Glenn Bell. And he came back from the war, he was a Marine, and he thought that America needed Mexican food. So now we're realists. We realize we're really Mexican-inspired food. We're not quite authentic, but Glenn did a beautiful job of setting forth for us a vision for what we could do to tantalize the taste buds of Americans with Mexican-inspired food. And so with that, we went ahead and we defined our brand. We like to say that we're a youthful brand. Usually when I'm traveling the world and I talk to people and they say, and I talk to everybody, so whether you're a cab driver or you're in the elevator with me, they'll say, oh, what do you do? And I say, oh, I work for Taco Bell. And immediately everyone kind of gets this wry smile on their face because they reflect back to college, no doubt. And we love that, right? We are a youthful brand and we want to inspire that kind of passion. Whether you're, I don't know if any of you saw our Super Bowl ad that we had last year, not this year, but the year before. And it was a bunch of octogenarians living like college kids, right? Because the point we made was we're a youthful brand, and whether you're 80 or you're 20, we want you to have that feeling. As a brand, we have to stay connected to our consumers, and so we are constantly challenging ourselves to stay relevant. And so what you see here is our latest design building. We're building it in Indiana, and we have evolved from the baby boomers to now Gen Y, who Gen Y, for Bob's benefit, I think you know, are so obsessed with sustainability and social responsibility. You're right in the sweet spot of where they're going, and we want to stay there as well. So we are about $8 billion in sales in the U.S. primarily. We have about 6,500 restaurants spread throughout the U.S., and we are just getting started on our international business. So we have about 250 stores spread around the world, and our job is to build it up and build it out and make it meaningful someday for young brands. So one of the things that I loved in Dr. Das's presentation this morning was the conversation around how supply chain is not just about saving money, right? Supply chain is about opening up innovation and making sure that you can help a company deliver what they're trying to do. We pride ourselves, like Glenn Bell was an explorer, we pride ourselves on being an explorer, sort of a business that wants to do first, right? So we were the first value menu. We were the first free refills. Some people tell me we had the first female restaurant general managers, which would be really cool if we did. No one can kind of fact check that one, so I always can say it. We were the first to take those wonderfully delicious Cinnabons that sometimes you eat in the malls and put it into a poppable format and serve it in our restaurants. We're the first to actually have our own version of Mountain Dew that we can sell, that no one else can sell, called Baja Blast. So here's a little bit. I don't have coupons. I feel so naked. But I want your involvement, all right? So tell me, somebody raise their hand or just yell it out. We sell a lot of Mountain Dew at Taco Bell, a lot of Mountain Dew. And so we are basically the second largest place that sells Mountain Dew in all of America. So can you guess who the only other person is in the US that sells more Mountain Dew than we do? Walmart. There, is that you? Yeah, go Bob. All right. Yeah. And I wish I had a Taco Bell coupon to give you. So it's a fun business, right? We have a lot of fun. We also love to create new products that just tantalize people's taste buds. We were talking about this at my table. So we've created so many interesting and unique products. You see them up here. The Mexican pizza, the chalupa, which I don't even know if it's a name. The Crunch Wrap, which is actually globally the most popular product that we have. And then we also did this little product about 1.5 years ago, 2 years ago, called Doritos Locos Tacos. You might have heard about it. I'm not sure if you have. But can anyone out there, if you watch Jon Stewart, you've heard about it. Anybody out there guess how many Doritos Locos Tacos we've sold since we launched it around 2 years ago? Any guess? Pardon?
I'm asking, how many is Bob?
Oh, yeah. Anyone have a guess? How many? 14 million? 200 million? $1 billion in sales, yes. 850 million actual tacos that we've sold in about 2 years. So, right? But it's a lot of tacos. And we do it in a very quick way, and we do it each and every day. We are selling 4.5 million tacos. We are out there innovating, creating, and tantalizing people's taste buds. So in order to do that, right, you need to have an amazingly robust supply chain, because to create that kind of temptation, and we do a lot of media, and not deliver on it would just be a travesty. So supply chain plays a really important role. We actually, if you think about it, every 4 to 6 weeks, we're on TV with basically a new product, a new promotional product. So our poor guys in the restaurants, right? Every 4 to 6 weeks, we're training them to deliver a new product. And a lot of times, they have a unique ingredient or two, right? So you're busy trying to deliver and supply that kind of business, and you need a lot of data and a lot of information. And that's why I thank my supply chain guys every single day, because this is what makes us run. You got to be profitable in our business. We're a franchise business. Like Bob, about 85% of our 6,500 stores are run by owner-operators. Some of them big, some of them small. We only own about 15% of our stores. So there's just a lot of energy that goes into making the business run. So when we're thinking about doing these promotions, right, we have to begin to plan, how do we have enough in all the restaurants across the country to be able to get the sales that we want from these promotions, but not so much that we're left with a bunch of write-offs, right? And the U.S. is a pretty diverse place, right? So if you're launching a product and you're on TV, what you're going to sell in Alabama may be different than what you're going to sell in Washington or what you're going to sell in Minnesota. And so the supply chain team is constantly thinking about, how do I deploy what I need to be where so I can capture those sales when I'm doing these promotions. It's a little bit unique. I mean, there's so many different industries out here. And gosh, I went to the supply chain risk panel. That was kind of interesting. I was thinking about the complexities of our business and then listening to the guys in oil and gas and the guys that supply the equipment to oil and gas and the complexities that they have. We all have complexities. Ours is a little unique because we want to go from the farm to the fork in 24 to 48 hours sometimes, right? So the speed at which we have to make things happen. And then making sure that we too, like the guys in oil and gas, we want everyone going home and being healthy and being safe. So the amount of energy that goes into our job number one, which is food safety, is incredible. When we think about something we all deal with, right? Commodity management. That's another huge part of what's happening with our supply chain managers, making sure that they're staying out in front of what's happening, and also trying to make sure that we can, as best we can, line up our marketing calendars with sort of the variations that can happen with different commodities. Certain commodities are seasonal, and so you can do that a little bit. You can be a little bit smart that way. You're never perfect. You always want to do what's right for the customer at the right time. So, and then making sure that it's all about growth. So when we talk about supply chain, we're talking about growth, right? And our guys are thinking about every single day, how can we make sure that we execute flawlessly so we can continue to drive growth in our business and deliver on the sales that we have. We have 55 million customers a week that come into our restaurants. So it's just a lot of transactions, and making sure that you're delivering on that need in a way that's flawless. So the beauty, Dr. Doss's presentation was so wonderful because it hit on so many things in terms of what's happening in retail. Our customers, we're able to get information back from them immediately. We get sales overnight, right? We get daily sales by product, by day part, by store, by region. So we're constantly able to think about, what do we have where, and do we need to move it somewhere else so we can deliver on those sales? And then what's really, really cool is we have on our marketing floor what we call the newsroom. So it's this amazing area with about 6 huge plasma TVs. And it's connected into a company that feeds us what's happening constantly, 24/7, out in the social media space, right? And we can query it, to say, hey, tell us, what's happening with the Crunchwrap Supreme, and we'll see what's trending. We'll see what people are saying about us. It's a way for us to be able to manage the dialogue to the best of your ability when you're in social, and it also lets us know if there's pockets of challenge that we might have out there, because as many of you, if you've seen any of the Twitter conversations or some of the social media conversations, they're pretty blunt, right? Like, whether you're doing it right or whether you're doing it wrong. And we actually have a couple of 20-somethings who run this for us because we don't want to get in the way, because they understand it better than we do. And they understand exactly how to respond and engage to keep the noise level down if it needs to be down, or to ramp it up if it needs to be ramped up. And that also helps us manage our sales and our inventory. So social media is amazing, and it does allow us to do the forecasting and also the labor scheduling that we can see where there's pockets of things we need to do. If all goes well, we have empty warehouses at the end of our promotions, and we're not writing off dollars. Because you can imagine, with the amounts of volume that we're running through, if you miss by just a little bit, you're writing off millions and millions of dollars, and no one wants that. So when we're thinking about different models for supply chain, and there's basically 3 kinds. So the first is one like Quiznos or Domino's uses. It's the company manages the supply chain. They sell their stuff to the franchisees. It's probably an interesting dynamic. If any of you have been in the franchise business, there's a very unique relationship that exists with the franchisees. We love our franchisees. They give us lots of feedback. So it's clearly when you're in there, they're probably giving them a lot of feedback. McDonald's, probably one of the best, if not the best at this in our industry. Leverages, as Bob was helping me understand, more than just a third party, but a third party in a lot of places. In some places, they do it very similarly to the way we do it, although we've formalized what we call a jointly managed purchasing co-op, effectively. And so we do it this way, Wendy's as well. And what it is an ability to leverage the scale and the wisdom that we have across our system. So our purchasing co-op is Taco Bell, Pizza Hut, KFC, all the restaurants in the US, all together in a purchasing co-op, which gives you a lot of scale if you think about it. And then each brand has its own board. And on the board, you have franchise leaders, company leaders, and professional management who actually know what they're doing. And they help guide the decisions that the board's doing as it relates to that brand. And I'll show you in a few minutes how we're able to leverage this in order to make sure that we are really getting the most profitability into our stores, but also the quality. And it's a really effective structure, and we love it. We like McDonald's, have a tremendous amount of respect for our franchisees. Small, not so small, all of them, but some small, medium, and large business owners. We have some that own 250 stores. That's a big business. Working together, leveraging our know-how, and sharing, so we're aligned when we go out and do what we need to do. So we worked together with PwC at one point, our friends, and created what we call restaurant margin improvement. This is where supply chain can really, really help you in terms of your profitability and your quality. And there was a couple of components to it. And I'm going to give you examples of each of these components because it's the best way to think about it. So spec optimization. So I won't ask this question because you'd be embarrassed to tell me, but okay, so lots of us have gotten pizza and carried it into our cars and driven home with the pizza for our family. And then you get out of the car and you look at your seat and there's like greasy stuff on your seat, and you are so mad, right? Because your pizza box didn't hold all that good, lovely stuff that comes off of cheese. So we were talking to consumers, and they were giving us that feedback. So what we were able to do was change the spec, because what was happening was we created a pizza box that the grease wouldn't come through. And it was awesome, right? So you could put it on your seat, you could drive home, no issues, everyone's happy. And then we said, wait a minute, this is kind of costing us a little bit of money. Why is it costing us so much money? And the reality was, has anyone ever gotten a pizza and then like turned it over and put it on the top on their seat? Probably not, right? Because all the stuff would come out and it would be horrible. Well, we were using that same amazing stuff that would keep the grease from coming down the bottom on the lid of the pizza box. And it was like, why are we doing that, right? So we changed that. We were able to deliver the same wonderful quality pizza box, and we saved somewhere around $50 million, right? Because Pizza Hut sells a lot of pizza boxes. So that's a great example there. Another great example is when we're making these decisions and we're working together, it's a total cost and use model, which I'm sure is very familiar to all of you supply chain people. So a good example was shredded cheese. So we sell tons and tons and tons of shredded cheese. We said to ourselves, well, if we could buy it cheaper, then maybe we can save some money. Well, maybe we should just buy regular cheese and bring it in, and we can shred it in the back of the house, and then we'll be happier, it'll be cheaper. Well, then we looked and we said, well, wait a minute. Yeah, the cheese is cheaper, but you need the labor to shred it. You're going to lose there's some waste in there. Somebody might cut themselves, right? When you looked at the total thing, you're like, let's just keep buying the shredded cheese. So that was another good example of kind of working your way through to try and figure things out. This is one of my favorites, and it's sort of underway right now. This is the consummate example of how this joint model and multi-brand works. So chicken, right? We all eat a lot of chicken. We saw some chickens earlier. And so when you think about Taco Bell serves 100% white meat chicken. Pizza Hut sells chicken wings. KFC sells legs and thighs and breasts and all that. In some parts of the world, like Asia, they have a preference for dark meat. Some parts of the world, like here, we have a preference for white meat. Well, gosh, instead of each business buying their piece of the chicken, let's just buy big whole birds, figure out who needs what, we can get a better deal, and voila, right? You're saving lots of money. That's an example of one of those things. And this is another one of my more favorite examples. This will be an audience participation example. So controlling usage. So Taco Bell, when we make the food, we wear gloves, right? So the guys in the back are using the gloves. So, 2 hands, right? Probably small hands, medium hands, large hands. Like, how many specs or different kinds of glove variants do you think we had in our supply chain? So when the managers could call and order gloves, they got the gloves that they wanted. How many do you think? 8. 5, 20. Nope, keep going. Up. Seriously, 38 different specs of gloves we had in our system. It's hard to imagine, right? So we said, maybe we should have 5, right? So huge amounts of savings there. So again, another one of those interesting things you find when you're starting to dramatically manage your supply chain at every level of detail in a collaborative way. So the last one I'll talk about is sourcing. And I used to think that we bought a lot of beef, like a lot of beef, until I saw your slide this morning. I'm like, oh my God, he buys a lot of beef. So we buy about, I think it's somewhere around 400 million pounds, a paltry amount compared to my friends over here. But it's a lot still when you're dealing with your suppliers and you're trying to work on how can you make sure that you're getting the best price, leveraging your scale, all those kinds of things. So all of this combines into a wonderful supply chain process that can add tremendous value to your business. It allows you and enables you to do all the value that you want to do, all the great work that you want to do for the customers and deliver it through to the customers. Yum overall, I would tell you, in the last 3 years, I would guess, has saved about $500 million doing this. So it adds up fast when you're a big business. All right, so that's all in the US, all the stuff we're doing in the US. We do it outside the US as well, but not at the same level that we do it inside the US. So now the challenge is 250 stores, not very many. KFC has 10,000, Pizza Hut has 6,000 outside the United States. Our friends at Yum Brands are looking at us and saying, 250, really? Can't you have more? Can you put another 1,000 or 2,000 of these things around the world in the next decade, maybe? So we are now on the process of thinking through how do we become a real global brand. We've had stores in Central America for almost 25 years, 30 in Guatemala, 30 in Costa Rica. Franchisees have been thrilled because we've been out of their hair, and they've been